Welcome back. It is Ask Uncle Lee Wednesday, and yep, I'm just going to do the questions for this week. As always, this is the place where you can ask any questions you want to about spirituality, the occult, witchcraft, demonology, all of that stuff. All the stuff we talk about on this channel. So let's get into it. Join me over on Patreon, where you will find all of my books, services, and courses in the shop, blog posts, and the various tiers which you can explore. You can get magical training in the Temple of the Horned Serpent First Degree, and joining as a free member gets you started with that, or explore the Magical Journal and the Egregore Project. Hope to see you there. All right, so today's questions are from, I believe it's Silver Dot, not Silverado, as I've been saying. Silver Dot. What's that? Venificarius, there we go, I think I got it. And MRT6610. So, starting with Silver Dot's question. Do you ever feel bad for daemons with how they're portrayed in Hollywood? Recently I've noticed I get kind of offended for them. I used to watch exorcism movies all the time. Now I don't even watch horror flicks. I find it a shame that divine intelligence can be reduced on the big screen by Christian indoctrination of thoughts. In some cases I kind of do, but not really anymore. I do enjoy horror movies, and I'm not going to let all of that stuff stop me. If it's entertaining, it's entertaining. I know that, you know, you're going to get the Christian trash along with it, so I'm not really too bothered about it. But do I feel bad for them? Not really. I guess in a way I do, but not really. First of all, I mean, they don't really have egos like we do, so, you know, I don't think it would bother them in the slightest. It's got nothing to do with their world, really. But the other thing is that I kind of get the feeling that if they were to actually sit with you and watch these movies, and all of a sudden, you know, like if Paymon's sitting with you, and what's that movie called? Hereditary. And you're watching Hereditary with him, and all of a sudden his name comes up. He's like, oh, he would be like, brilliant, lovely, got people's attention, and you know, it's. I think the whole thing with this is that I know this is all, the whole Christian worldview comes into play with the movies, and, you know, making it like evil and everything else. But that's because, you know, it creates drama and stuff like that, which sells. But if the idea behind that is to stop people from following these demonic forces, then they're doing kind of the opposite, because what it's doing is it's bringing attention to them. And people are curious. A lot of people are curious. Some people are not so curious, but people like us, we're fucking curious. We want to know. And therefore, anybody who watches those might go and start exploring, you know, who's this spirit that everybody's talking about? Why did this spirit possess this person? Why did they do this and that? People are just curious. It's a bit like the saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity. You know, if somebody gets writes a book or makes a movie or whatever, and everybody's like trashing it, you'll probably find that they will sell more books, because now people want to know what's so bad about it, so they'll go and buy it just to find out. And it's kind of like that. Is, you know, the movies draw attention to them, and people are curious, naturally curious. They're going to want to go and find out. So that's what happens. So in a sense, I don't really feel that bad about it, or bad for them. It creates a flow of energy towards a particular thing. And this actually comes back to the whole idea that was spoken about in, I cannot remember, I think it was John Cornfield, I don't know, some guy who is a Buddhist and has written various books, brilliant books. But one of the things this person said in regards to Buddhism in the West is that, you know, a lot of people come to the Buddhist path and they don't really understand it. It's just kind of like that Almost like the neo-Buddhist, if we relate to the initiatory Wicca versus the neo-Wicca. Very, very different in approach. There's a lot more understanding about the mysteries and things within initiatory Wicca, where it's kind of missing in neo-Wicca. Same type of thing. People in the West who are coming to Buddhism sit down and they meditate and they have their little Buddha statue and they light their incense and they think they're being Buddhists. Not really. In a sense they are, but not to the point where it's an in-depth practice, in-depth understanding of what's actually going on. But at the same time, what that's doing is more and more people are adding to the energy of the path, which allows more and more people to actually discover it. So, although it's often frowned upon, it's not a bad thing. It has a reason, a purpose for all of this stuff. And very similar to this, these guys are making movies about these evil spirits because it's dramatic and everything else, and because it's evil and because it's a Christian worldview, sometimes they want to try and portray anything that is not Christian as being this bad thing that you should not follow. But what it's doing is it's drawing attention, it's creating energy along a particular path, which curious people are going to want to go find out. So kind of shooting themselves in the foot if that is the reason for it. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that. So let's go over to Veneficarius. Let's see. Basic ritual procedure in line with demonolatry or non-Solomonic way. I like the majority of demonolatry resonates with me, but still I am more into magic and not worship. I like the respect way to approach and offerings, but without religious approach. Like in mutual contract or relationship, maybe it is demonolatry or something else. So this comes back to, again, etymology and the understanding of language and words and things like that. So worship in itself is not proselytizing yourself in front of a god. Getting down on your hands and knees and bowing your head and giving all of your power over to another being, which a lot of people come from a Christian background, and that's kind of like the impression that is given. And a lot of these words, worship, prayer, etc., come from this Christian background that people in the West are indoctrinated into, and it follows them over into their new spiritual path. And then when people like me or others within witchcraft and the occult start using the words worship and or within demonolatry, which is the worship of demons, start using the word worship or prayer or something like that, it leaves a bad taste, and it's understandable. But this boils down to understanding what the word actually means. So worship is it's worthy of the station that something or someone holds. And if somebody is worthy of their station, then it's worthy of honor. That personal thing is worthy of being honored. And that's really what this is about. We are not, getting down on our hands and knees or proselytizing and all of this stuff. In some cases, in some older cultures, in Europe, etc., yes, they did. It was a practice, but it's about honor, honoring this being which you find worthy of your respect and your time, and that's what it's about. And therefore, in the demonolatry approach, or the non-Solomonic approach, you are honoring them, you are respecting them, you are giving them offerings, you are taking your time, and you are sacrificing your time, you are sacrificing your energy to give them respect, to honor them, to show them that they are worthy of your attention. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Now, a lot of people have, or some people have started or did start using recently. I mean, this is only the past maybe 5 years. not even, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long, I don't know where the word came from. I don't know when it was started being used, but it is very, very recent. The word demonosophy and demonosopher. Now, that has kind of taken demonolatry, and it's this idea of, worship is a bad thing. And therefore we are walking alongside or working with the demons. We're not worshipping them. That's kind of the definition that came about there. But really, when you understand the actual word itself, and go and have a look at various etymological dictionaries and have a look at the word worship, what it actually meant and should mean. And then, then the whole idea of demonosophy is kind of a moot point, because it really is demonolatry. That's what we're doing. We're working with the demons. We are walking alongside them. They are assisting us. We are giving them offerings, in exchange, energy in exchange for their assistance, or, the energy that they give us, we pass back to them. We give them energy. It depends on how you actually approach this and actually do it. But that's what this is all about. Okay, so hopefully that answers the whole question. Yeah, you were saying that you like the approach, it resonates with you, but you don't like the idea. You're into the magic and not the worship. You like the respectful way to approach an offerings, but without religious approach. It's very much that idea of worship is this thing that came from Christianity, but it didn't. It was just, it's just this. They kind of screwed it around and left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So it comes down to understanding language. All right, going on to the next one. Final one for today. This is going to be a quick one today, I think. MRT6610. Hi, Uncle Lee. Do you have a source or books apart from Peter Paddon that you might recommend to learn more about dragon magic or dragons in particular? I don't really. I do believe, and I haven't read it, but I know the author, and the author's brilliant. If you have a look for Brian Bates, he did write Way of Weird, which was a fictional book, but he's a anthropologist, I think. Yeah, anthropologist, not an archaeologist, one of the two. But he wrote this fiction book, Way of Weird, and it's fantastic. I mean, it explores the intricacies of the faith of the northern people and the tradition itself. It's about this monk that goes over to the northern lands and to Europe, and to kind of get situated within this northern tribe, and in order to convert them all to Christianity or Catholicism, and they kind of end up converting him. So it really is a fantastic book. But I do believe he wrote a book about dragons in England, and it's very much in relation to the basic idea is that dragons are asleep, and they may wake up one day when they are needed, but they're all asleep. So in England, you have all these like mounds and cities, or not cities, but towns and villages and stuff, which have specific names which relate to dragons and drakes and all of this stuff. And I haven't read it, but the author is fantastic. He is absolutely brilliant. So maybe go and have a look for that. There was a book that came out in the 90s, could have been early 2000s, but as far as I remember, it was the 90s, could have even been the 80s, by DJ Conway. Avoid, like the plague. She went on to write about 2 or 3 more books in later years before I think she died, I think she's passed away. But she was noted back then and continued to be noted as a fraud. All the stuff she wrote about, most of the stuff she wrote about was absolute trash. She kind of took things and just elevated them to degrees that they were not meant to be elevated to. So, and just took stuff and just completely screwed it around and made it untrue. So DJ Conway's books, Avoid, Like the Plague. I did read her first one, which was the 90s, 80s, 2000s, I can't remember the year. exactly, and it was really, really terrible. There's some interesting bits in it, but it's just not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. If you go down that avenue, you're just going to get led astray, basically. But other than that, it's not really a topic that I've pursued myself. Apart from the fact that here and there in various different books, whether they be neo-pagan books or whatever, you have these mentions of dragon magic, but nothing specifically focused on it itself. One area you might want to explore is ley lines. And if you go specifically into Chinese feng shui, into the feng shui practices, they speak about the dragon tracks, or the dragon lines. It's lines of energy that run through the earth, which can relate to ley lines. A lot of people kind of try to separate them. Some people say they're the same thing. Again, haven't done the absolute exploration of this myself, but might be something you want to explore, is feng shui and the dragon tracks, or the dragon lines. And yeah, other than that, can't really say much. But sorry about that. Not sure if that helps. Okay. Anyway, that's it for today and this week, and I'll see you for more next week. Cheers for now. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.